separatist agitation in the country. As you are all aware, a number of ethnic minority organizations and also major ethnic organizations have been making statements regarding the unity of the country. Is it okay now? Okay. Maybe you want more light? Okay. You can lock it up. Okay. There are a lot of ethnically affiliated organizations who have been speaking concerning the unity of the country and basically advocating for separatism and division. Some have apparently called for the breakup of the country. I mean, it is understandable that the country is living through a troubled time that is testing the resources and the capacity of the various institutions that we have in Nigeria. But I just want to ask people to step back a little while and note that separatist agitations are always very seductive. They always come at crisis moments with salacious promises that don't always hold afterwards. And you can ask the people of Southern Sudan, after about 30 years of war and Southern Sudan was separated from Sudan, the country is still enmeshed in inter-clan struggles for power. And despite the enormous and vaunted oil wealth of the country is yet to know peace and development. The homogeneity of a country on its ethnic terms does not always confer peace and development. What confers development and peace is the fear of God, social justice, sound economic and social policies that engender development and visionary leadership. Nigeria has this problem which is associated with the overburdened center. The answer is not to break up the country. The answer is to decentralize power to the component unit of the Nigerian state, which is basically the state government. We can cite many examples of countries that are not multi-ethnic but are not able to find any piece of development. One of them is Somalia. Somalia is a country, everybody is a Muslim. They speak the same language, but has been locked for over 4 decades in war that are basically on clan basis. Ireland is just recovering from its division along religious lines. This is basically a country that everybody are all Christians, but have been fighting themselves over divisions based on doctrines between the Protestants and the Catholics. Human beings will always find something to fight over where there is no justice, when there is no visionary leadership. So our ethnicity and diversity is not a problem. What we need to fix are the challenges our country faces currently. And I believe that by the grace of God, Nigeria will fix it. All these are indications of frustration. And what I expect the federal government to do is to take some concrete steps that will give hope and confidence to the citizens that some reforms have been embarked upon that people can look up to. I had suggested some months ago, way back, for the federal government to put up an executive initiative to amend some sections of the Constitution, which will allow states to have some control over certain aspects of state functions that are currently on the exclusive legislative list. One of these principal areas is decentralization of policing. We need to have state and local police so that state authorities can handle things at the local level before they escalate to become federal problems. We can also have the control over mineral resources in the inland, that is onshore, to be within the jurisdiction of the states, whether they are oil or mineral resources, and this should not cause any problem, Even right now, as we're talking, the greater percentage of our oil production is coming from the offshore, from Agbami, from Egina, and all the other offshore Akpo fields, etc., etc. So Nigeria is not going to lose anything anyway in doing that. And the mineral resources that are onshore presently in the forest area are being controlled by hoodlums who are having more money to buy more ammunition and equipment, to wage war and destabilize the country. And then you can imagine that the state governments, which should legitimately control those mines, are not having any control, and then you have the government in Abuja pretending that it has the function over control of mineral resources. So why don't you allow the states control them so they can have more resource to govern their people, govern their space, establish effective policing of those areas, and then the federal government can collect taxes, I also expect that within this context, we can decentralize electricity generation, electricity transmission, and electricity distribution, so that people can have their local grid. And then you can have this supply of power at the point of need. These are things that don't need the drama of constitutional making, that you can simply take through the same process that was used in the various constitutional amendments that we have had. This is something we can do right away. We need to do something to show people that there is a roadmap to resolving the problems, even as we'll engage in greater dialogue and discourse, with the society. We definitely need to discuss, but we also need to act concretely to give hope. Now, regarding some of the assumptions of the various parties, I've watched a lot of this either online and what have you, and some of the assumptions are very incorrect, and highly fallacious. One of such assumptions is to say that, the Federal Republic of Nigeria is an imposition, the various nationalities did not submit them, and this is not true. After the amalgamation of 1914, the Lacan-Star Conference of 1957 and 1958 was attended by Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe, that was the premier of the Eastern region, and he led the Eastern delegation. Chief Obafemi Awolowo also led the delegation from the Western region, and Salana of Sokoto, Sir Ahmadu Bello left the delegation from Northern region. These were elected premiers of their various regions. who have served as premier in the period of limited self-government. They had the mandate to speak on behalf of their people. And one of the things that they all agreed upon is that Nigeria will be a country in perpetuity. In fact, that was the language that was proposed by the great Zik of Africa, Nnamdi Azikiwe. This was in the same spirit of the Federalist Constitution of the United States. Under this agreement, there is no section of Nigeria that has the right to secession or so-called self-determination. Nigeria will continue to exist in perpetuity. Its indissolubility and indivisibility is sacrosanct under that agreement. I don't know any of these guys whether they were elected by their people to speak on their behalf, but certainly there is nobody in the southwest of Nigeria that can be more southwestern or more Yoruba than Chief Obafemi Awolowo, who had committed in the Lancaster Conference, to the principle of indissolubility of the Federal Republic. Under the Independence Constitution, no region had any power to succeed. There was no power of self-determination for any of the component units. And if there was anything that happened in 1966 that overthrew that constitution, the spirit of that agreement underlies subsequent Nigerian constitution, which is that Nigeria will exist in perpetuity. And anybody taking up arms against this principle is committing treason. That's what it is. And if you did that under United States Constitution, that's what it will be. It will be treason. To speak and enter into agreement voluntarily. And they did enter into agreement in Lancaster, led by Chief Obafemi Awolowo, Nnamdi Azikiwe, and Sardauna of Sokoto, that Nigeria will continue to exist in perpetuity. It is on record. So anybody saying that there was no agreement and all that I don't know what they're talking about. You understand? And now, the other thing I want to say is this. Nigeria's best alternative is still its unity, but with reform internally. In the sense that any other alternative is going to be chaos. Look, there was nothing called a Yoruba nation before amalgamation. What you had was Egba, was Ijebu, was Ijayi. As a matter of fact, the major sub-nationalities in the Southwest were in a 111 years old war before the amalgamation. All right. So the entire doctrine of a Yoruba nationalism was a creation of the Egbe Omoduduwa, led by Chief Obafemi Awolowo. And the same man submitted all that sub-nationalist consciousness to a larger consciousness of a pan-Nigerian state. And there is nobody living or dead that is more Yoruba than Chief Obafemi Awolowo, in terms of commitment, in terms of antecedent, in terms of track record. So, and there was nothing in his literature where I advocated for the right for secession or self-determination. So these people are speaking for themselves, but they have the right to speak for themselves and to ventilate, their hunger. And I think that is also the responsibility of the federal government to listen to everyone and to also take concrete initiatives that will show everyone that you are listening and you are reforming, especially where there are areas where reforms are necessary and urgent. And such areas we have already highlighted. We need to decentralize. Over-centralization is suffocating the Nigerian Republic. And you know that even this over-centralization of power is consequent upon the unfortunate incident of the 1966 coup. Otherwise, it was not that way. Regarding NNPC's position, well, I don't know. I've not seen their memos. I've not reviewed it. I don't know the scope of maintenance, and it will be quite superfluous for me to make a comment on that. But I mean, in principle, there is a need to ensure that we build new refineries, whether they are going to be built by private individuals or they are going to be done by joint venture. We can't continue to import petroleum products as a major oil producing country. So, and you don't need to have all the money before you can do that. You can do, all that you need to have is to have some equity participation. And I'm sure that if they can afford $1.5 billion, they can as well use that to pay equity in a brand new in a brand new refinery of the same capacity. So it's a question of your priority, but are you going to say abandon the old ones? Okay, you can repair them and then privatize them, you know. But even if you repair them, you still need more capacity. I don't know what is happening with the Dangote refinery when they are going to close and all that, but I think Nigeria needs more capacity. And not just for us, for our internal consumption. I think we should aspire to serve the African market and the West African market, especially now as Africa is going to be having a unified trading system. So this is important that we don't just aim to satisfy our local demand, but to also be a major exporter of refined products all over Africa, because we are closer to most of the African states than those who will want to supply from Europe or Asia. Everyone can ask for anything. It's part of their freedom of expression. We had for National Conference in 1990 under the military. You know, that's like 31 years ago. We even tried to organize one in the National Theatre, which was dispersed. That was the National Administrative Secretary. So there is nothing new about asking for a national conference 30 years after we have asked for it. Now, the point here is that we do have a government in place, and there are institutions that can deliver immediate relief that do not require the drama, you know, and the elaborate preparation for a national conference. And those institutions are in place right now. And they can do this thing within the next 4 weeks. And so, which one is preferable? To do the needful quickly right now, while we're discussing other things. We're not going to finish a reform of the process in 1 day or 2 months. Reform of institutions and states are continuous processes. But what gives hope to people and what will make people to believe in a state is when they see a pathway to what they are looking for. They can see things happening right now, and then they can listen to you. They have confidence in you. But when you do nothing and you sit down and you are properly shut down everything, yeah, you are inviting trouble.
Thank you very much.